Jason Fields, Prep Cal Track. I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Rich Gonzalez, also Prep Cal Track. This is the 105th Annual California State Track and Field Championships. We are here in Clovis, California. It is our favorite time of the year, and we get to talk about the greatest state meet in the United States. Shout out to our friend, Mr. Timothy O'Rourke, who likes to bring that up every year. Now, Rich, I want to open this up to you to talk about some headliners and some things that have caught your eye both last night in the prelims and things you're looking forward to in Saturday's final.
Well, first thing, we're kind of in a golden era right now of track and field. And what I mean by that, we have a situation where the venue on the Bain track is a very fast track. It's very warm here in Clovis. Warm is outstanding for the sprints. We have tremendous depth in the distances, and even despite the heat, that's showing up. But you look at all the factors here, and California is so damn loaded that we're going to have a great track meet. But just so you know, the technology that kids are using nowadays with the shoes, we are seeing all across the country people having among the, if not their own, best meets all time. Kids are just better prepared with better equipment, so stuff is just much better year over year, especially this year than in the past. And California, with our numbers, no exception. And like you mentioned, we have one division in our state meet. We don't dilute the talent. So if you make it here with our population, you really are something truly special to make the final because you are super, super good.
We always talk about, those X factors and those big races and performances that we're looking forward to. What's one that jumps off for you for Saturday's championship finals?
I would say the boys 110 high hurdles, primarily because there is someone who I consider an all-time talent in terms of just how ahead of the curve he is. And he's only a ninth grader, Jasir Fontenot out of San Diego High School. What he's showing is just hard to believe for something. Now, he's been hurdling for years and getting age group records in junior high, middle school. But to see him as good as he is right now is just stunning. There were a lot of people yesterday that were reaching out to me saying they couldn't believe what he did and how fast he ran. I kind of believed it. I hate to say it, almost expected it, but only because he is that good. He is an incredible all-timer, stunning as a ninth grader. So that wasn't a surprise. What surprised me was heat one of the 100. I had some definite concerns with the accuracy there and have some data to kind of back that up. So I'd be curious to see if those four athletes in heat one of yesterday's prelims in the boys 100 can replicate that today.
Because that's a deep field. That's not just those four. There are others there which you say data kind of supports that they should be in the mix to win too. And four of those athletes kind of separated themselves in a way that I know caught your eye.
Four of those did, and they were all from heat one, and I don't think that some of those in heat one are better than, for instance, DeMar DeZern, as an example, out of Alamany High School, or Benjamin Harris out of Servite High School. Yet those kids in separate heats ran slower times when they had to run hard. So I would be a little bit surprised if some of those kids we saw in heat one go and defeat some of the kids I just mentioned that were in the other heats. Because you mentioned, yeah, it is deep, but I guess the proof will be in the pudding this way. The kids who finished second, especially third and fourth in heat one, are they going to finish top 4 or 5 today in the final? Or are they going to finish behind those kids who ran slower in separate heats yesterday, even though they had to go hard all out?
To be determined. Now, you mentioned Benjamin Harris of Servite, and obviously Servite is projected to factor very strongly in the team battle here too. But I want to touch on the 4x100. Obviously, they've been a major storyline all spring based on the times that they've put forth. A state record there at the Arcadia Invitational, 40 seconds flat. What do you expect from them on this particular stage here on Saturday?
The hard thing for me to believe is that California has never had someone break 40 seconds. That for me is the hard part.
Yeah.
Not to see Servite with all freshmen, which is impressive, or freshmen sophomores get 40 flat. Very impressive. But when we're talking all this history and we've never had a team break 40, so if it were to happen today, I wouldn't be surprised. The key, of course, is going to be precision in exchange zone, the baton. Keep that baton moving at maximum speed throughout. No slowing the baton in the zones. But they have the speed for it. They're going to have the weather for it. It's great sprint weather. They're going to have a fast surface. They're going to have a crowd into it. It's all there. It's all there. So if we break 40, I won't be surprised. Very, very happy finally happened. But this is a special group. They've shown it repeatedly. It's pretty cool that they're all so young. But this group is the real deal. And this is the best situation they've been in all year. Arcadia was a great environment, but now they have the extra warmth, which is so good for spring.
Arcadia is a great environment, by the way, there. Now, you know, what makes what they've done...
You're the cash.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Now, obviously, you know, you got to have execution, but I think the big thing with the group from Servite is confidence. And talking to Coach Thomas over at Servite, a fantastic coach, by the way, he says that these guys run older than what they are, and they have a confidence that's not necessarily a cockiness per se, but a confidence of, hey, we know we're good and we can go out there and perform. That's beyond their years, and I think that's what makes them such an appealing storyline, to see if they can break that 40-second barrier. Again, never been done in the state of California. For 1 millisecond, the board at Arcadia flashed 39.99, and then it was corrected to 40. We'll see what they can do there. I want to go to the distances on the boys' side. Is there anything that you're looking forward to in that regard, 1600, 3200, distance-wise?
You know, the 16 and 32, a lot of both 16 and 32 on the boys' side are very strong. A lot of the seasoned, a lot of the experienced A-listers went to the 3200 for the state meet, okay? So that leaves the 1600 with some individuals who are very talented. You know, you got Grant Miller of Lucerna, obviously Connor Lott at Clovis North. So there's a few really good talents. Sorry?
Stephanopoulos.
Even Stephanopoulos. There's a few really good talents, but they don't. Aiden's the exception. He has a lot of experience. The other ones have experience. You know, they won state Division I cross country, Connor Lott. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about years of big experience, like some of the kids in the 32 do. So the 32 to me is a bit more attractive in terms of, wow, these are guys that are the real veterans. Whereas the 1600, it may come down to someone who takes that gamble to try and test, you know, the will, the steelness of the others in a sense. So I think whoever takes that gamble may be rewarded. The 32, I said, some heavy hitters from the get-go. Well, I shouldn't the get-go. From a couple of years ago, I've been extremely high on Evan Noonan of Dana Hills.
Defending champion.
And this year is interesting because he's put on a lot of healthy weight. A lot of healthy weight. Distance runners don't usually put on 30 plus pounds in a season. That's more weight you have to carry at a fast rate over a distance. That's usually a negative. He has turned that into a mind-boggling positive and handled it really well. It's just awesome for his own health. There's a couple of really dangerous guys on there. Landon Pretry, I mean, yeah. I think he probably comes into this more focused probably than anyone else. That's not a knock on anyone else. I just think that Landon is really dialed in.
He's a current state leader.
And I don't want to throw names out there, I miss throwing names out there, but there are some people out there that I have tremendous respect for. Eli Fitchin-Young with Santa Cruz. I mean, he's almost my favorite to win the race. I just think things are lining up just right. Now, for all I know, he may blow up, but I just think he has all the little things you want to line up just right, where he's probably the most dangerous, and he hasn't had a year that I think he's pleased with. I think people have probably written him off or say, okay, he's not a contender. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and steals the show.
I look forward to that. I want to get your thoughts on any field things that kind of catch your eye. Anything out there that you would like for the public to kind of know going into Saturday's finals?
The field events?
Yes.
I'd say the big thing on the guy's side is going to be McKay Madison. He's already the greatest discus thrower we've had in state history. Doesn't have the state league record, but the state league record, when it happened way back when, the kid threw 221 during the season that year, and I think people thought it was crazy when winning the state meet. They said he's not even the favorite. I don't think he's going to win, and he didn't win.
Yeah.
This is different. McKay Madison's different. This kid has gone, I think now 16 times, I believe, 16 different meets 200 feet plus. He's for real. and he's getting it done also in the discus, in the shot put ring as well. This kid is special. It's really cool to do it. I mean, Clovis North, they are, I think, 3.2 miles from Buchanan High School. So it's basically, yeah, very much so. So for him to do it in his backyard, if he's able to do it again, like he swept last year, would be pretty cool. And unlike some past favorites, I would not bet against him.
No, definitely would not. There should be a special show in the throwing rings there for McKay Madsen. Want to hop over to the girls' side now too. Just kind of get some quick thoughts for you. We can start with some of the sprints. What are we keeping our eye and keeping focus on as we look ahead to Saturday's finals?
You know, I kind of mentioned this in the straight preview. The fact that 10 days ago, it looked like the southern section was going to sweep the girls 100, 200, 400. And then last week, I'm like, oh, I could see the southern section getting shut out in all three races for the title. And the one that was most compelling to me, and I'm hoping I pronounced her name correctly, but Naija Sizemore out of Vanden.
Yes.
She didn't have the best times, but she had very good times in terrible headwinds. And when you adjust for, okay, what should happen, it's like, she's for real. She could win this. And I think she showed that yesterday. Well, I believe she ran 11:33, win legal, one of the top times in California history. But she has some company, you know, Journey Cole, Brown Union, obviously our girl from Chaparral, drawing a bit of a short blank. Keelan Wright.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she is someone that I think is going to be fine at the next level. So it's just really impressive. But I think Sizemore is a tremendous talent. You know, we've seen the same thing in the 400, when Gibbs coming on and doing well there. So I'm more uncertain on what to expect or who to expect in the girls' sprints, because there are many players, and I think some people that maybe weren't at the top of people's lists are coming up quickly.
That's why you got to pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. You got to go and check it out. Now we'll hop to the distances on the girls' side. Obviously, a big name in California in recent memory. Not here this year. Kind of opening the field up in the 1600 at least. There'll be a new champion there for the first time in 3 years. What do you expect from that race? And then we can also talk 32 as well.
You know, I'll be honest, and this is not usually how I am for a state meet. In this particular case, I almost don't know what to expect. There are so many players, and they have pluses and question marks. So I really don't know what to expect. There are some kids that I'm really high on that have raced a bit more than I kind of would have liked to see them race at a high level. There are others that maybe haven't tested themselves at least twice in a big environment, so you kind of wonder, okay, are they coming in trying to be totally fresh and totally hungry, or are they not quite ready yet? Are they not race calloused yet?
I like that term, race calloused.
So that to me is unlike in past years. I'm like looking at it saying, man, I don't really know what to expect, and that's unlike me in the distances. But that's where we're at.
I also want to touch on what I'm calling the first.
But I do want to say I've been very impressed with what Kiara Daly has done at La Jolla this year, repeatedly. I mean, she's so many good girls, so many in the state. She's one. If I had to single somebody out, she's one I want to single out.
I think I'm going to go with one, Santiago Corona's Braylon Cole. Second here last year in the 1600, and I know fired up for the opportunity to go out there today and prove that she can be on that next run there. Name to watch, ladies and gentlemen. I was mentioning the first family, what I'm dubbing the first family of track and field, the Herbst family. Obviously, two individuals there that have a stake in this meet and should do pretty well there. I wanted you to get your thoughts on the Herbst.
All right, I have to admit, okay, I have to admit here, when she was running really fast, it was our 800-meter runner first, really fast in the early season, repeatedly, indoors, wintertime, early outdoors. The 800 is a very grueling event. When she did it repeatedly, a couple of others that I highly respect, that have a lot of experience, and myself were privately saying, she's going to be out of gas by the end of the season. She's come to the end of the season, and she hasn't eased. She is still, so I was wrong on that. I thought she would be on fumes, and she's not. She's running really well, which is a tremendous testament to her focus, her fitness, her coaching, they're planning everything. Even if things don't go well this weekend, to put together what she's put up to this point already is phenomenal. And on paper, she's a big favorite. Just hoping you don't run a really, risky race and it backfires.
That's McKenna Hurst of Carlsbad. 2:03:30 is her top time this year. Obviously, the state record 2:02:04. You might have heard that name, Amy Weisenbach, a grade here who did that in 2011, right here in the state final. Do you feel like that could be challenged?
I don't think so. And that's nothing at
No.
all against her, nothing at all. But I just think things, not to take away anything from Amy, but things almost accidentally lined up perfectly and it played out to an all-timer. So it would be great to see, but man, I think people don't really appreciate what that 2:02:04 that Amy did that day, just how special it really
Special.
was.
Those of us that have been around for a long time remember that one. That's one of those races that we talk about constantly. Now, her sister, a couple weeks ago, set a major record in the 300 hurdles. Talk a little bit about that one. Obviously, very special accomplishment for Morgan Hurst to go 39:95. We don't see that very often, not only in California, but in national times as well. What was your thoughts when you saw that time heading into this meet?
I'm in the minority here, and this is going to be open to criticism. The really good hurdlers, whether it be boys or girls, the really good ones have big drops at the end of the season. When she was already running 40-point multiple times during the season, it's kind of like, my God, there's no reason why she's not going to drop to the 39s. I'm not taking it for granted because it was phenomenal, but it was almost, I don't want to say expected, but it was in the cards that it's there, and she proved it. She did it. We already had an individual 39.81 at Arcadia earlier this year. Obviously, the one and only Sidney McLaughlin, Zabroni, 38.90 at Arcadia. And this is with all due respect, I'm not sure, let's put it this way. Kaylin Edwards has to be respected.
Very much so.
And Kaylin Edwards beat her, I believe it was Mount Sac relay,
Sac, yep.
by 1/100th of a second. Kaylin Edwards just ran the race of her life yesterday. She wasn't running the way she wanted to early on, and it's falling into place now. So we have two girls that could break 40. Do I think it's going to happen? No. In fact, if I had to press, I think the chances are better that neither one breaks 40 rather than both of them do. The reason being, they may be a bit tight. It's going to be a heck of a race, and that they may tighten up a little bit. They're both amazing talents, but I think the real question is who's going to win.
It's funny that you even mentioned that in that race that Morgan Hurst broke that record. Anissa Bonfando, the defending state champion in the 100 hurdles, was in that 300 hurdles race. And oh, by the way, she ran 40:71, I believe, which in most days would win convincingly. So definitely a good battle shaping up there.
Coming into the meet, without a doubt, in my eyes, without a doubt, the best event in the whole track meet, we'll take it back, the third best event is the girls 300 hurdles. And the reason I say it, and I'm not saying with any bias, but the two best races are the 4x8s. And that's because, what you need to do to get to that final, especially in the southern section, is just tremendous.
Yes.
And you've seen California just take off in the 4x8s the last couple of years. And if you look at last year and 2 years ago, which was the first year we had at the state meet, those were tremendously exciting races. We're going to have the same thing this year. And it's funny because the sprint crowd, the sprint fans, when we had the 4x8 2 years ago, sprinters were like saying, I love that race. That was really cool. It's a special new treat, and I think those two events are just amazing. But individually, it's a non-starter. The girls 300 hurdles is absolutely stacked.
You brought it up, so I got to get your thoughts on those 4x800 races. Who are your favorites going into it? On the boys' side, there'll be a new champion this year. San Clemente was the previous two champions in that. Going to be somebody new this year. Who do you have on the boys' side? And then we'll talk about the girls.
I don't have a favorite. That event is so grueling. California is so deep. We had Jesuit run a nation leading time at Arcadia, 7:41 and change, I believe it was. Then we had Great Oak just torque it up, went 7:35 at Mount Sac a couple weeks later. And at the Masters meet, when we ran the qualifier in the southern section, it was during the opening leg of the 4x8 that I turned to somebody next to me and said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Great Oak, who ran the number 2 time in state history at Mount Sat. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get through. And they didn't. By 1/100th of a second, but they didn't. And it's not a knock on them. That's how freaking loaded the event is, and you have no margin for error because you have teams that are coming up right now. So it's impossible to go ahead, in my eyes, and pick a favorite. It was a little bit different the last couple of years, especially last year, not because of San Clemente, but you had a coaching staff there that does a really nice job of getting people ready at the end.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, you know what, I like that. I think San Clemente is one that, this one's different. This one's more wide open, it really is. They don't have that, one of the teams in my opinion doesn't have that X factor. If I had to, I would say, even though they don't have the best time, do you really want to bet against Jesuit and the Jesuit tradition? Do you really want to do that?
They've been successful at a few of these races before. I'll kick it to the girls' side as well too. J. Sarah Catholic High School is a team that I know very, very prominently into this particular race. Last year this was won by Ventura, I believe 8:57. J. Sarah went into this and at Arcadia 8:53.85. They were the national #1 for a long time. They were one of the top times in California history. Your thoughts on there?
You know, I think J. Sarah has really done a great job in recent years. I think Redondo Union, years ago, not long ago, just had a great way of developing the 800-meter runners, the toughness, and now we've seen it at a different level with the relays, the 4x8 relays at J. Sarah. It's a grueling event. It's a painful event. It's painful working out, and they got it down. So in terms of who's the best squad, J. Sarah. But it's one thing to be the best squad, and it's another thing to deliver, and it's so hard to deliver, as we saw by Great Oak. This event is very, very, very unforgiving. So you have to have, not like the 4x1, boom, it's done. 4x4, it's all a sprint. The 400 to the 800 is a very different beast. From the 4 to the 8, very different. And you have to have 4 kids that can master that kind of pain, focus. It's a different ballgame.
Not only that, for J. Sarah, they have 2 individuals who will be competing in the 800 as well, and a couple of individuals that project to do very well there. Of course, the senior Annie Elise Packard and the junior Chloe Elbaz. Now, I want to get your thoughts on the girls' field events. Obviously, a lot of attention there. Just overall thoughts, a couple of individuals there that you want to keep an eye on.
First off, I didn't start off with Jasleen Massey over at Lisa Miguel.
Lisa Miguel High School.
The amount of improvement she's had in discus throw this year has been incredible. I think she's going on 45 or 50 feet of improvement. Now, she wasn't that strong in the event last year, but this year's a totally different game. And now she's passed Asia Johnson of Notre Dame as the favorite. It looks like she's going to go ahead possibly in position to sweep. This is a junior who's got a background in figure skating. Not many throwers have a background in figure skating. Also a background in the high jump, very agile, but you see her very agile in the ring, but when it's time to basically convert that to power, she does it really, really well. So she's gonna be tough to beat. But again, Asia Johnson out of Notre Dame, she's a veteran. We've seen her do well at the end of the season. She's been brought along very nicely in recent years and is ready for the big meets.
She's a state champion in both the shot put and the discus, so she's had success here before.
Yeah, so you got two great ones going head to head there. Good luck to everybody else trying to keep pace with those 2.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to get your thoughts. Harupa Valley Junior, A.B. Hernandez. Obviously, the name has been in the news. The situation's been in the news. Just your overall thoughts. AB obviously figures not only individually, but into the team battle as well too. And we've seen individuals or duos on teams lead teams to state championships. It's a possibility of a podium finish here. It's something that could happen, but your thoughts?
A couple of things. First off, I kind of wanted to see some legit marks. AB Hernandez would have some good marks in dual meets at venues that are known with slow sandpit levels, which basically give you extra inches on your performance. So I kind of wanted to see, and she actually did have a good performance at the Mount Sac relays. So I figured, okay, that works right there in that one event. But I wanted to see validation in the long jump, and she did that yesterday. 19:11 3/4 legal with good wind levels, with proper wind levels, so legitimately. And there's some other individuals in the field that have jumped further, but have had a problem with consistency. So the fact that Hernandez can possibly win the long jump, can possibly win the triple jump, and is becoming a bit of a dangerous unknown in the high jump. All of a sudden, we have someone who can score, if I had to guess, I think probably end up scoring 22, 23 points. But given the full picture, which I don't want to get fully into, but given the full picture, I wouldn't be surprised if the person could score 26 or 28. And then all of a sudden, if that means if one of the top 3 teams, one of the top 4 teams, 3 teams above 28 have a problem, we could see one individual, and a controversial one at that, be on the podium.
You talked about teams and podiums. The last thought I'll give you here, team battles. Obviously one of the most exciting parts of California State Track and Field Championships. Team battles, team championships can be won or lost on an event by just a couple of hundredths of a second or an inch in some field events. Your thoughts on the team battle?
You know, I think first off with the boys, it's gonna be fun. I was thinking that Survivor was gonna run themselves out of it. I kind of had some concerns with I saw them do some mistakes early on during the season, and I thought it would come to bite them in the butt at the end of the season. Thankfully, they've navigated it. I was also concerned last week when a couple of kids were coming up hurt. It seems like they have their health back. So right now, especially with Benjamin Harris seemingly back to form, I think that puts them from 3rd or 4th back to 1st, because they were in the hunt and now they're the favorite. Clovis North, they have a ceiling. They have very limited entries. They could all win, but they have a scoring ceiling, whereas Servite can surpass that. You know, on the boys' side, we also have, who are the other ones? De La Salle, same thing, great, but they have a ceiling, and there's one other team, same thing with the ceiling. On the girls' side, Long Beach Wilson's the team to beat. Long Beach Poly, because they have 2 pretty good high jumpers in an event that can often become unpredictable on state finals day. They could get a windfall of points there and be in contention for the team title. And then from there, I think Jay Sarah is in position for 3rd. Behind them, Carlsbad. Again, they've got a ceiling.
Yeah.
2 great individuals and a relay, but they have a scoring ceiling almost, so they can't break through. So they need to have Jay Sarah or Paulie come back to them. And then I think number 4 on paper, or number 5 on paper, would be Krupa Valley with A.B. Hernandez.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, me and Rich could talk about this all day, but we actually got to go and see what these wonderful athletes do. We thank you so much for joining us on this preview here at the 105th edition of the California State Track and Field Championships. Keep it locked. Prep Cal Track has got you the rest of the weekend. You can't see them, but Jimmy Sue, photo extraordinaire, Dylan Stewart, video and photo extraordinaire, also joining us. You'll get photos.
Raquel Turner, Jeff Turner. We know Greg Smotherman's in town and is already looking at sending stuff over. So
look, the list goes on and on here at Prep Cal Track. We got you guys covered. I'm Jason Fields. This is Rich Gonzalez, and we will see you soon.